Guys, it's Will back once again. And this is something I'm going to do tonight. I might go forward, I might do this in the future. It's something I've always loved doing. And in the past, I've kind of thought about doing it, but never really got around to it because Sunday's usually kind of resty and I don't like to do much. But I'm going to call this the Matchmaker. I mean, who doesn't like putting fights together and fights they would like to see? And pretty much what I'm going to do in this one is I'm going to pretty much pick the winners of last night's fights at UFC Brasilia, and I'm going to try and kind of predict and match up matchups that I think that they may make next time out. So yeah, and then I'm going to go into talking about this whole UFC, not London, but the UFC trying to put a card together on less than a week's notice. It's pretty crazy. There's names being bandied around everywhere. So who knows what's going to happen with whether they're going to do this next UFC card, whatever it may be in America. But it's pretty crazy. If you like this matchmaking whole type of thing, give me a thumbs up. If you want me to kind of maybe do more of it in the future, let me know about it. And if you're new to the channel, just hit that subscribe button. So yeah, so pretty much I'm just going to make some fights from last night's winners. I've got a list here. I've been kind of looking throughout the day of matches that I can kind of put together. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to talking about this because it's something I do like to do, is make fights on the Sunday. And sometimes I do it and I put it on Twitter and so on, but I thought this would be something to do tonight. And like I say, I'm not really looking at any fights for next week because the whole entire card has been completely scrapped. If you've been on social media or anything today, you've pretty much seen it. The whole entire UFC London card is pretty much done. I don't think there's going to be any fights moving forward to this upcoming week. So it's going to be fresh matchups and it's going to be a little bit crazy. So I'm going to start from the top and then work my way down to the bottom. And I'll maybe talk a little bit about the fights from last night as well. So while I'm talking about this, so Charles Oliveira obviously won last night. I thought he looked phenomenal. Actually, I thought he looked amazing. You can totally see the turnaround in that guy. He is very, very fluent in every area, very dangerous. I think he came in there with a shoulder injury as well. I had it 1 round apiece after 2, but all 3 judges gave the first 2 rounds to Charles Oliveira. And Kevin Lee, like, he had his spots in there. You see that he was a dominant wrestler. Especially in that second round when he started to kind of fade a little bit, he did get beat up a little bit in that aspect. But when he got the fight to the ground, he could control Charles Oliveira. But initially in that 3rd round, I think he caught him with a body kick, and that instantly made him lower his head and shoot him for the takedown. And that guy's got a death choke, and if he catches you, he catches you. So Charles Oliveira's coming off a massive win. Wasn't in the rankings. Now will get massively jumped into that top 5, top 10 of that division, I should say. And you look at that division and there's matchups made. You've got Hooker against Poirier, and obviously the big fight with Tony and Khabib, if that comes through in the next month. So you've got to really match him up with someone in that top 10. And a lot of guys are kind of matched up. Carlos Ferreira was one I thought, but he's matched up. So who is the guy in the top 5 who's not matched up? Because he's going to, I think Kevin Lee was number 7, so he's going to jump into that kind of top 10, 70-10 spot. And some of these matchups I've kind of looked at opponents upwards and a little bit downwards in some aspects. So I might have a couple of fights in mind. So the first one I have is Justin Gaethje. If we're looking up the rankings, he's the one guy. He's not going to fight Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's not going to fight Justin Gaethje, I don't think, anytime soon. So Justin Gaethje's looking for a fight. Charles Oliveira could be the one that gives him a fight. And Charles Oliveira's completely, like, the way he's kind of changed himself around in the 10 years he's been with the UFC, and he was pretty much a predominant kind of jiu-jitsu guy. Now he's striking. He sits in the in close and he delivers bombs, and he's so aggressive, and he's not scared about going to the ground because he knows he's got his jiu-jitsu. But you can see that Kevin Lee could control him in that aspect with a big heavy wrestler. Justin Gaethje is not going to do that. He's going to come forward and sling bombs. So that's a fight I would love to see. Charles Oliveira against Justin Gaethje is what I've got there. If I'm looking down the rankings, I think Beneil Dariush has just moved himself into the top 15 or in and around there. I think that would be a very competitive fight, Charles Oliveira against Beneil Dariush. But I think that they'll go a different kind of way with that. But if they were to go down the rankings per se, Charles is obviously going to be looking up. He's not going to be looking down. But if they did, Charles Oliveira against Beneil Dariush would be a good fight. But for me, if I could pick a fight, I would pick Justin Gaethje. So we'll move on to the co-main event. Gilbert Burns kind of survived the little onslaught from Maia, and once he got back up there, that guy's got some slick hands. And I could be talking about Gilbert Burns having another fight this week. So, yeah, because he's put his name in the hat to face Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley looks like he's going to fight. If they're going to make it, if they are going to manage to make a fight card this week, Tyron Woodley's definitely going to be fighting on it. And RD's come out of the woodwork, said he'd like to fight him, and Gilbert Burns has already went on Twitter and says that the match is going to be made. So, but I think Gilbert Burns had a great finish, obviously, but then the call out I think was perfect. Going after Colby Covington, I think Colby's a little bit in limbo. He doesn't know where he's going to go. He's calling for Tyron Woodley. I don't think that's going to happen. So Gilbert Burns against Colby Covington is a very, very, very good fight. Gilbert is obviously flourishing in that division, but Damian Maia is at the tail end of his career. He's going to have one more fight and he's probably going to be done. He's calling for Diego Sanchez. So that shows you where he is at. He's looking to go out in a big win. Gilbert Burns was just too fast, too quick, and he was too kind of good in every kind of area, and he could stop what Maia was really good at. The way he kind of came underneath Maia to get back to his feet was pretty slick, in all honesty, and survived that. And you've got Burns, who I think is the better striker than Covington. Covington obviously throws a lot of output, coming off that broken jaw, fractured jaw that he had. I'll go into the chat once I get through these matchups. I'll answer some of your fights there, guys. So I can see in the chat. I'm not ignoring you, but I'll get to you in the meantime. But I would love that fight. I think we'll probably edge Covington in that one because I think on the feet, like I say, he can take a good shot. He can keep coming. He can keep a pace. I think Burns could fade out a little bit in some points of that. I think a good realistic fight, obviously, as well, is Santiago Ponzinibbio. He's due back in this division, and he's a top 10 fighter. Burns is in and amongst there. I think you could make that a main event fight. So if they went back to Argentina, that's an easy main event. Gilbert Burns against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Like I say, he's calling for a fight. If Covington doesn't take him, then obviously Usman was probably looking at Woodley, kind of Edwards as maybe who he was fighting next if he wasn't going to fight Jorge Masvidal. But for me, I do like that call out from Gilbert Burns against Colby Covington. Colby's going to be back in the summer, I think. But Ponzinibbio one, I think, is a fight they can make as well. So moving on to the next fight, Renato Moicano's coming off a 45-second submission over Damir Hadzovic, caught him with a couple of shots, managed to get him down, and then really leapt on that back. And once he got the back, his jiu-jitsu really showed there. And then in the pros fight interview, he was calling for Paul Felder. He was saying he was top 7 in the featherweight division against a top 7 guy in the lightweight division. I don't think it really works like that, Moicano. I think you've kind of got to work your way at least 2 or 3 decent wins, maybe even more than that, to really establish yourself as a top 15 guy in there. So you've got to work your way up the division. You're not going to get it handed to you. So he was quite hard to kind of make fights for, because you can put him obviously with a lot of guys. The lightweight division is completely stacked. But I'm picking a couple of guys here. I think I don't know where you would rank Moicano as in a ranking in the lightweight division right now, because like I say, it's his first fight there. Obviously coming off a big quick win where he never really took any damage, so we'll probably see him back in there quite quick. And there's a card in June in Australia, which if you're making a fight and you want maybe a local guy against a decent name in Moicano, who's fought obviously big name fighters down at 145, the first one that came to my mind was, and I'm not sure about this matchup, but it's one I wouldn't mind seeing. It's Moicano against Brad Riddell. I think Brad Riddell's shown that he's a very, very astute fighter, very good stand-up, can work off the ground a little bit as well, but that might be a little bit too quick a push against someone like Moicano. But Moicano is still fresh and new to the division, so that's one that initially came to mind. I thought that wouldn't be a bad fight because Brad Riddell can take a shot, very, very hard-nosed, but he's a hard-nosed bastard, pretty much as I kind of describe him, and you can see he's making improvements. So the other one I was kind of looking at, like I say, I still think he needs to build himself up, because Hadzovic he's not a top guy in that division, so I think he needs another couple of fights to really get him get some confidence and kind of build him through that division and don't put him into that top 20 straight away. The other one I was thinking was Vince Pichel, another kind of hard-nosed guy, very different guy, decent striking, can grapple a little bit, wrestle a little bit. I would pick Moicano against Pichel majority of the time. I think Riddell could give him a harder fight personally. But that's kind of where I'm going. I don't think they're the best matchups. I was looking around and thinking, but Riddell was the first one that came to mind. If they're looking at throwing him in there again quite quick, then you could put him in Australia, maybe against a Brad Riddell on the main card there. Definitely, that could be an opener to a main card, absolutely. So that's who I was looking at for Moicano. Moving on, Nikita Krylov coming off a win over Johnny Walker. The hype train is well and truly derailed with Johnny Walker. Nikita Krylov, I thought he would have stopped him personally, but looking at the interview I seen from Krylov today, he said he completely gassed. I think some of the shots that he took a lot of kind of the gas out of him, and he kind of went into a grapple fest and he really just kind of dominated Johnny Walker with the grappling. But there was a couple of squally moments where Johnny Walker was raining blows down on him and was really going after him, and you can see that he's very dangerous and he's got a lot of power, because you've seen Krylov was completely marked up. So I'm looking at a guy here. Initially I thought Corey Anderson. I thought, nah, that's looking up too much right now. So I thought, who's the guy that's just maybe entering top 15 and looking to move into that top 10 where Krylov is. He's probably ranked around number 10. You can't really put him with Sakhanov because he's already lost to him, or faced him, I should say. I was thinking Jimmy Crute. So yeah, Nikita Krylov against Jimmy Crute. Jimmy obviously came out there against Michelle Oleksiejczuk and just he had a big injury in his knee and went into grapple fest there. That'd be an interesting fight. I think Nikita's got the advantage on the striking, but I think he's a good grappler, a decent grappler. I think he makes mistakes, but obviously Jimmy Crute, I think he's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background as well. So that's a fight I wouldn't mind seeing. Nikita Krylov against Jimmy Crute again. Fight card in June. Pay-per-view in Australia. Wouldn't be a bad fight to put on that card either. Maybe even a main event, a main card kind of fight as well. So kind of looking at that there. Francisco Massaranduba Trinaldo coming off a win over John McDessie. John McDessie's he's a horrible fighter to watch. I hate watching his fights. Trinaldo was trying to take the fight to him. He was hitting him with a lot of low kicks, body kicks, coming in there with combinations, and really all John McDessie was trying to stab the body. So yeah, I don't really talk about John McDessie anymore. But Trinaldo, again, one of the hardest kind of guys to face in that division. I would match him up with Scott Holtzman, who is himself is on a little bit of a run right now, winning some fights, coming off the win over Jim Miller. He's looking for probably bigger names than Trinaldo, and Trinaldo's a tough name to come through. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Francisco Trinaldo against Scott Holtzman. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight at all. Brandon Moreno's coming off a win over Juicy Formiga. That puts him in the top 5 of that division. I think Formiga's number 3, so he's going to probably move into number 3 in that division, which is a little bit crazy. So there's not really many guys you can kind of put on, especially at flyweight, because they're so light with fighters in the UFC that yeah, I think you have to put him with someone in front of him. Now, if the UFC don't make the Davison-Figueiredo match and Joseph Benavidez fight again, which they seem to be kind of heading that way, then I would put Brendan Moreno against Davison-Figueiredo. Brendan came out, said all the right things. He said, I don't like Davison, I don't like the way he was acting, he missed weight, he was unprofessional, he was this, that. But you could ultimately put Moreno in there against Davison. I think that would be a very, very, very fun fight. Obviously, I think I've got Davison-Figueiredo winning that fight. But Moreno is, like I say, he's very scrappy. He's a hard guy to pin down. He will keep on fighting. He's very squally. He'll get back to his feet and make it a fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Brendan Moreno against Davison-Figueiredo. But we need to see what the UFC are going to do, because they look like they're pushing for Benavidez against Davison too. But yeah, if you can match him with someone else, you could maybe put him with the winner of... actually, I don't know. I was going to say Kai Kara France, but he beat Kai Kara France. Alex Perez, maybe, if you're looking to just match him up. So, yeah. Amanda Ribas absolutely dominated Randa Marcos. She looks like she's going to be a threat up there in that division. She was a complete machine last night and completely ran through Randa Markle. She's going to be a problem for a lot of girls in that division. So, who do you match her with? Angela Hill, I think is the name that comes to mind. 3-fight win streak. She's kind of making a little bit of a name for herself by kind of being the Donald Cerrone of the division, by kind of stepping in and fighting. Again, would not surprise me if we see Angela Hill fighting this weekend. If the UFC managed to get a card together, I'm sure she's one of the names that she threw her hat in there and said, look, I want to fight this weekend if they could make that. Felice Herrig, I wouldn't put her with Felice Herrig at all. I see Kevin in there. She's coming off 2 wins. I think she would absolutely run through Felice Herrig, honestly. She's got a bad knee injury, so I think she's going to be out for a long time, as far as I know. But looking up, I think they're ranked fairly similar. They're going to be Amanda Ribas against Angela Hill. Angela, like I say, she's making a bit of a name for herself in that division. But I think that's a logical matchup to make. She wants Paige Van Zandt. She would absolutely destroy Paige Van Zandt. I can see why she wants that fight. And I can see why the UFC want to make that fight, because Paige Van Zandt's got 1 fight left in her contract. I'd be surprised if she's still fighting in the UFC by the end of 2020. I think she's going to go to Bellator, because obviously the hobby's over there. She's probably asking for too much money in the UFC, and the UFC aren't going to give it to her because she barely fights as it is now. So I wouldn't mind seeing Ribas against Paige Van Zandt. I just don't think it happens. The other fight I was looking at outside of Angela Hill was Yan Xiaonan. But the only thing I don't like about that is you're killing off a prospect very, very early, and I don't really like that, doing that really too much. But sometimes the UFC make matchups where they'll pick two contenders together and kind of go through that. But I would love to see that fight. Yan Xiaonan's a very, very good fighter. She obviously came through Kovalkiewicz with no real problems at all. But I think the fight to make, if they had time to make it, would be Angela Hill, and try and build off Angela Hill's kind of little, I don't want to say she's a big name in the division, but she's won 3 fights. Xiaonan's on a streak herself, and you maybe build both these girls up, and maybe in 18 months' time, they're actually in the top of the division, and they're fighting out to face kind of Weili Zhang or whoever in that division. So Zaleski, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, kind of come through, very, very close fight against Alexei Kunchenko. Seen some people give it to Kunchenko. I think it was close. So yeah, I've matched him up with Jake Matthews, or like I say, I've looked up and I've looked down. I think if I'm looking up, you maybe put him with like a Neil Magny, who I think's kind of right around that top 20, top 15 in that division. He should be top 15 fighter actually. So if you're looking up Neil Magny, I think Neil Magny would actually beat him pretty handily, because Neil Magny, like I say, he's a hard guy to kind of face. He's got a gas tank, he's long, he does everything, nothing stands out, but he does everything fairly well, whereas Zaleski's got obviously that capoeira background. He had a takedown late last night that kind of helped him in that fight. But like I say, someone just said there he thought Zaleski lost the fight. It was a close one. I think if it wasn't in Brazil, I think he would have lost that fight. But in Brazil, judges maybe gave it to him, even though they were probably, like I say, it was a close fight. I can't really say anything. I think I probably edged it Kunchenko, but they gave it to Zaleski. That's what it is. Jake Matthews won a couple of fights, got himself a good win over Emil Mek, even though Mek's kind of flattened to deceive in the UFC. But another fight I was kind of looking at, if they were going back to Brazil, maybe him against Alex Oliveira. But I think they'd like to kind of build Oliveira up again, because he's a very exciting fighter to kind of watch, and he's good to kind of have around for your fight night cards in Brazil or whatever they may be. But like I say, if I'm looking up, I'm maybe looking at Neil Magny. If I'm looking at a guy who maybe should be fighting up against a caliber opponent, Jake Matthews, maybe Zaleski's the next step in that one there. So I've got Zaleski against Jake Matthews or Neil Magny. I'd probably think that the Matthews one's maybe the better fight at this point in time. Marino Morose, she has blossomed into a really good fighter at 125 pounds since she's went to American Top Team. They've really started to get a lot more out of her. You can see the change in her game. She's using her grappling a little bit more. Her boxing's always very good. I've decided to match her up with Lauren Murphy, who I think she's moved herself up. She's won a couple of fights. I like that fight for Morose quite handily, actually, against Lauren Murphy. She's ahead in the rankings. So I would pick Marino Morose over Lauren Murphy. I think that's a fight that could easily get made as that one there, and I would pick Morose. But Lauren Murphy's been proving people wrong by coming through close fights recently. But Morose, there was a few people that bet her last night. I was actually thinking about betting her. I just couldn't pull the trigger. But that was a sharp bet because she really did well in that fight, and she came through a lot of adversity in that third round as well, which I like to see. And like I say, she's coming through with a stable of girls at American Top Team that are really improving her. You can see that with Joanna being there, with Hebas. She's training with really good, solid girls there. So looking forward to her next fight. Next up, we've got David Dvorak. This was a hard fight to kind of put together and make a fight for, but I was pretty impressed with him. Like I say, if you watch my prediction video last week, I think he could blossom into being a really good fighter and a good addition to the flyweight division. But you've got to match him up properly. You can put him against Bruno Silva, who nobody really knows about. But now I think you have to kind of give him someone with a bit of name recognition, and it's not like he's a big name in the division, but he's a guy who's been around the UFC for a long time. He's known to probably hardcore fight fans. So I would put him against someone like Tim Elliott, who always gives you a hard fight regardless. I was thinking maybe Howley and Paiva was another one I was thinking of, but I'm thinking if you can try and build him a little bit, I think a named guy would be better than facing like another young prospect again. Flyweight division's very thin, threadbare actually, threadbare. That's the word I'm trying to say, and you need a couple of guys to come through in that division. But I think Tim Elliott's on his way out. Dvorak, I think, would give him a lot of problems. I think he could stop some takedowns, and I think on the feet he would just kind of pick apart Tim Elliott, even though Tim Elliott is very weird with his striking. So David Dvorak against Tim Elliott is the one there. And then this one, talk about trying to make a fight for B. Maleki. Obviously coming off that win over Veronica Macedo. I was looking at this and thinking, who do you put this girl with, considering she's, 2-0 as a pro, 3-0, I don't know what she may be. So B. Maleki, I was looking at, right, who do you match her up with? Because, like I say, she's not won that many fights, even though she's 2-0 in the UFC. I was thinking maybe Talia Santos. I'm not even sure she's with the UFC. But the girl who I'm thinking about, you put B. Maleki with, is actually the Invicta 135 women's bantamweight champion. And that's Yulia Stoilarenko, who won that title very recently. I think they need girls to come into that division. She's a lot more experienced than what B. Maleki is. But it might be you're building a girl who won a title over in Invicta, putting against someone like Maleki who's won 2 fights in a row. But it's like, that was a tough match for me to put together. I had no idea what to do with B. Maleki there, but ultimately I put her with Yulia Stoilarenko, who some of the fans might know through The Ultimate Fighter. She was on that season, I think it was the last season actually, on that one there. So I put Maleki against Stoilarenko, but like I say, that was a tough fight to put together. So yeah, so that's kind of the matchups that I would make. If you've got different matchups and what you think about my matchups, just leave it down below and get back to me. But I want to see your matchups, who you would put people with. And yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of listening and seeing what you guys would be saying and what matchups you'd be making. So I'm going to go into the chat, guys, before I go into this last kind of topic. Thank you all you guys for in the chat there. I can see you there. I can see Kevin saying the card is done. I know the card is done. I was just... guys for in the chat there. I can see you there. I forgot to hit the mute button on that bad boy. So, Scott Brown, always bet on Woodley as a dog. I was going to bet Tyron Woodley against Leon Edwards. I'll give that away because that fight's no longer going to happen. Rematch failed their interest in 2. Emma McHale, what's happening? Don't do it, Justin. Oliveira will submit, just in my opinion. Really rooting for Justin to best Khabib if Tony doesn't. Who do you want to see T Wood fight? I don't know. I don't know who they're going to match with. I like to see him obviously against Covington. I don't think they're going to make that fight. Colby doesn't want that fight, especially on less than a week's notice. I just don't think it's going to happen. Maya against Cerrone. Maybe. But like I say, Maya's calling for Diego Sanchez, so it wouldn't surprise me if they put Damian Maya with Diego Sanchez and make that kind of happen in Brazil in May. Oliveira should get the winner of Hooker and Poirier. That could happen very easily. Johnny defended himself in the floor and grapple. Johnny won. No, Johnny didn't win that fight. Johnny got completely dominated in that fight. He landed a couple of strikes in the feet, and then he had a couple of decent positions on the ground. But Krylov won that fight very, very handily. It's the clearest 29-28 you're ever really going to see. Hebas is a beast, Kevin. I completely agree with you there, brother. Moreno jumped up to one of my favourite fighters versus Kai Kara France, solidified that opinion versus Formiga. He's got the fighter mentality. One of the best scramblers in the UFC, agreed. Timing is right to make Mr. Arkansas against Brandon K. Paige won't take that fight yet. Paige is not going to take that fight with Hebas. She would have been watching that last night and thinking, no, I don't want to fight that girl. She was smart to get out of that one when she could. She wants to win a Watson Esparza. Could happen. Angela Hill can't beat top-notch competition. That's true, but she's winning fights and she's got a little bit of notoriety in that division, so Hebas could easily build off that, and you're building a prospect coming off girls who are winning 2-3 fights in that division. I thought Zaleski lost that fight. Marloes was my pick, but Moreno, Silva and DraftKings. Yeah, not many people were on Marloes in that fight for DraftKings, and she scored decent. So, yeah, I thought Aleski dos Santos won just because of the takedown at the end. Like I said, it was very close. Fights like that, you just have to really kind of take with a pinch of salt. So I've kind of went through the chat there, guys. I am now going to kind of go into the second part. So the UFC are trying to put a card together. They obviously announced that UFC London is not taking place next week, which I'm not surprised about because I think the government tomorrow in the UK is about to shut down every kind of event that's kind of going on. So it was never really going to happen. Cage Warriors are still trying to push ahead with their card on Friday. I don't think that is going to happen, if I'm being completely honest with you. But the UFC, so this whole entire card for London has got completely cancelled. All the fights have been scratched because fighters are not allowed now to fly into America, and it's the same for Europe. So you're going to have the UFC have put out a memo to every kind of manager that they deal with, saying if you've got a fighter who's got a win streak and wants to come in here on short notice, they're going to try and put a fight card together. Like I say, if they manage to make a fight card, Woodley is going to headline. I don't know, against RDA, Gilbert Burns. I don't know. It's not. I doubt it's going to be Colby, even though Colby's coming out and saying that he wants to fight. Blah 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 blah. But they're going to put a whole load of fighters together. So who knows what matchups we're going to get? I don't know whether I'm going to have a prediction video for this week. If they do make a fight card, I will get my predictions out. But like I say, it's hard to really give. It's just kind of going to be predictions and not really winning all that many fights, for the simple reason that you're not going to have time to kind of go back and watch fights. You're kind of going off kind of gut instinct and what you think's going to happen. But like I say, I don't know. Dana White's he's a bit of a maniac, if you ask me. He's still trying to put fights together. He is determined and absolutely determined to continue rolling with fights. And you've got to give the guy credit for that. Like I say, I'm all for fighter health. I just want to make sure the fighters are okay. But like many have stated out to me, like, the guys need to fight, and I agree with that. But like I say, I'm just down for the health. I just want to make sure that they get paid and stuff like that. I just want to make sure they're all healthy with it. But like, the UFC did a great job last night in Brasilia. It's a shame they couldn't just take all the fighters over to Brasilia and just do the next couple of cards there, because who knows if we're going to see Ngannou against Rosenstrike. They said they want to take that to Vegas. They can't do it in Vegas now. The Portland one they were going to do in Vegas, I don't think they can do it in Vegas now. So who knows where they're going to be, where they're going to manage to put a fight together, which part of America they're going to do it in. Who knows? But if the UFC can somehow pull off putting a card together in 6 days' notice, and it comes through, geez, what a slice! Like that's some genius stuff from Dana White, managing to do that in 6 days' notice. And I mean, there's fighters out there that'll jump at the opportunity. I'm sure they've had hundreds of people get in touch with the UFC to try to say, like, if they can make fights. I know there's Jared Gooden, who's a guy that John and MMA Huddles did interviews with. Dan Levy kind of represents him as well, so over half the battle. So that's a guy that wouldn't surprise me if I seen get a fight. Him and Kevin Holland were chatting back and forth on Twitter earlier on this afternoon, so that would be an interesting fight. But who knows? Like I say, if the UFC somehow put these fights together, then, like I say, I'll try and make a prediction video maybe Thursday, Friday if I can, because like I say, I've got work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm actually took the time off because I thought I'm going to sit and watch UFC London and Cage Warriors, and obviously that's probably all done now. But I'm also hearing that Cage Warriors, even though they're still trying to put fights together, are trying to actually put UFC fights on Cage Warriors, which would be interesting for the home kind of. So your British fighters who can get there, like your Diakese, Herbert, you got your guys from Wales like Jack Marshman and Jack Shore, and other guys that could get in there. So it'd be interesting if we could do that. I very much, like I said, I don't think that Cage Warriors card will go ahead, but who knows what's going on. Like right now, it's just absolutely craziness in the kind of MMA world. You've got a lot of people kind of going at Dana White for putting on cards. You've got some guys that are loving it. Like as fight fans, you want to see fights, but you just it's a weird time. Every other kind of major sports organisation is completely shut down at the minute, and the UFC is still managing to move forward. They're trying to put cards together, so you've got to kind of give them respect for that. But who knows how long that's going to go, and they might be shut down. They might be shut out by the government with that. Feel for those London fans who obviously getting tickets to UFC London is hard enough, and then you have to pay pretty big dollars to get to London, get your hotels, and the tickets aren't cheap. So all those touts that were selling the tickets, they might not be able to get refunds off that. So it's like they are going to be screwed. Um, that's one of the reasons that I'm not the biggest fan of just going to London full stop. So I'm glad that I kind of swerved that and kind of missed that event. So yeah, getting back to the chat there, I see there everything is shut down starting Tuesday here in MA. I work Uber, so I'm very uncomfortable from a health and financial standpoint. Business has sucked over the last few days and my bills are creeping. That sucks. It does suck for those people that work there. What's happening in the UK, I think that what they're going to do here, because I work in kind of retail, I'm a manager in the shop and stuff, so I now, I'm not managing the shop, but just like I do a lot in the shop and I'm a keyholder and stuff like that, but it's like, um, if they start to shut down shops over here in the UK, I think it's going to be a 2 week period where it's completely shut, and they pay you for 2 weeks pretty much. So and then they kind of go from there. So who knows what's going to happen? The schools are still open here in the UK, or here in Scotland especially. They're still going to keep open from what I'm hearing. That could change through the week with the government. I think they're going to make some big announcements tomorrow, so who knows what's going to happen. So I wouldn't mind 2 weeks off if they kind of shut everything down. I had a 2 week break, and we've kind of got some stuff stocked up there. And so yeah, those ratings are too good to pass up. I see Gene there. Are too good to pass up for the UFC. Huge influx of MMA bets due to inactivity in the sports world. That as well. DraftKings was huge last night. There was some massive contests, a lot of money there. They were looking at the London card next week, and they had big contests ready for that fight card. Obviously, that's fell away. So it's bringing in people. You're getting all the degenerates that want to play DraftKings, that want to make bets. And I'm sure they did pretty well last night. I wonder if we'll find out how well they did. But it's just it's a weird thing that they're still going and everything else is shutting down, and it's a big contact sport, and it's still going on. So not unless the government shuts them down, it looks like they're going to find a way to kind of put these fights together. So who knows? How's your bro? My brother's doing well. He kind of came through a big week this week by actually. So he had those cuts to his face that when he got attacked, and he managed to grow a beard to kind of hide some of that. So the guys that were initially did the attack, they were found guilty. I want to say 2 weeks ago, ish. They were put away in jail for quite a long time, and they were put away for that. So he kind of feels relieved now. He's not scared to show off his scars that he's got, and his scars are really bad. They're not great, but he's kind of using them as kind of war wounds a little bit. But he says, but he shaved off his beard. His wounds have healed up pretty nice, but you can see obviously anytime you're taking blades to the face, that's not going to be a good look. So he's doing well. He's kind of moving forward slowly but surely and doing well. So, but they found the guys and they were put away in jail for many years. Let's say that a long time. It's going to be a long time before they're out. So good luck, Will. I wish you well. Hopefully the virus is an inconvenience for a month or two, but nothing more. Let's hope so. Let's get back to kind of normality for a little bit, because he's kind of shut everything down around the world really. So yeah, hope your bro is doing well. The story is not something anyone should have to deal with. No, it's not. It was rough. It's tough, yeah. So Uber actually sent out a message, says that Uber's will do income reimbursement plan if quarantine is necessary or you get sick. Well, that makes it a little bit better. But yeah, so guys, I'm going to keep this short and sweet, 35 minutes in. This is something I actually really enjoy talking about, kind of making fights for the future. Whether any of the fights kind of come together, who knows? But it's been kind of nice to speak to you there. I can see a few in the chat. I appreciate some of the questions. But like I say, it's coming up to 2 a.m. over here. I'm going to go to my bed and get an early night. So, yeah, if you're new to the channel, give it a thumbs up, give me a subscription, and just hit that bell and you'll be notified when videos will be coming on. Like I say, if I've got no predictions to do over the next few weeks, I'm going to start doing some videos, maybe my top 10 fights of all time, or top 10 finishes, or whatever. I'll put some content out there for you guys, absolutely. So yeah, Khabib or Tony. Value, I think, is on Tony Ferguson's side. Those lines are kind of crazy, honestly. So, yeah, it's a crazy fight. I got this funny feeling that Tony's really going to like shock the world maybe and beat Khabib, but it's hard to tell. Let's hope we just get that fight first of all, because we need that fight. We just need to get to that fight, and the world be back in a better place, and that fight's just ready and willing to come back to us. So, yeah, bring Cody Saftik. Yeah, Cody is one of the good. I like listening to the way Cody talks fights, and if you watch the Dogger Pass podcast, it's one of my staples every Friday before the fights on the Saturday or the Sunday sometimes. It is one of the things I always watch. I think they did really well last night. There were a lot of guys on my. I think he nailed a lot of his picks, so that's brilliant. And he is a matchmaker. Yeah, he's matched some people up in there in Canada and everything. So if you ever want to help Aiden or adding video clips to those top tens, let me know. I will do. I'll be in touch. But like I say, hopefully we get back to just having predictions and having fights. Did a shoe. I saw that out the boot as well, which was pretty gnarly. So, yeah, I'll have if we have no predictions, I'll do live streams. I'll have content and so on and so on. But guys, I'm going to get going. Appreciate you all sticking about. All the very best, and I'll catch up with you very soon. All the best. Cheers. Take care.